The brilliant minds at NPR have been treating us to some absolute banger episodes of their now famous Tiny Desk concert series ever since 2008, filming over 1,200 tapings, including some of the most notable artists on the planet. Filming a set at Tiny Desk may seem insignificant to those who believe the bigger the crowd, the better. However, the intimate confines at NPR show us the viewers a more vulnerable side of some of our favorite artists as they get used to performing for just a few dozen people in a small room versus potentially the arenas where they can somewhat disappear within themselves. We've seen superstars show more of a shy or reserved side as they get used to their surroundings.
I've wanted to do this like my whole life, so I'm a little shaky. I'm really excited to be here.
But you can also see the appreciation in their eyes as they're fulfilling one of their musical dreams, and many of their performances end up being career highlights. As we've been treated to many notable female artists on Tiny Desk within the past couple years especially, there's still one that has yet to showcase her skills amongst the iconic bookshelves, Lana Del Rey.
Me and my girl, we got this relation.
There's not much on the internet about this topic of why Lana hasn't performed on Tiny Desk yet, but a notable footnote to mention is Lana's displeasure towards how NPR writer Ann Powers reviewed her 2019 release, Norman Rockwell. Powers referred to Lana Del Rey's lyrics as uncooked in comparison to those of artists such as Joni Mitchell, and also analyzed her perception of Lana relying on a persona as a bad girl to whom bad things are done. Lana Del Rey decided to respond to the criticism on social media with the following: "I don't even relate to one observation you made about the music. There's nothing uncooked about me. To write about me is nothing like it is to be with me. Never had a persona, never needed one, never will." So while this has already been 5 years ago and may be water under the bridge at this point, Lana has still not made an appearance on Tiny Desk, but it should be mentioned that there would have been a 7-year artistic relevance prior to this even happening, in which a set could have happened then as well. I would think NPR would gladly have her, so it's likely that Lana just doesn't have the desire to perform there, which is obviously her right. However, I can't help but think that her charm and songwriting would thrive in this setting as the perfect place to have her lyrics taken in within some intimate, down-to-earth surroundings, where the music behind her can also be presented well and mostly true to how her songs are arranged in the first place. A Tiny Desk set by Lana Del Rey would be incredible in many ways, with not only her vocal talent on display, but also I believe her back and forth with the office crowd would probably be wholesome and witty enough to keep us engaged between tracks. Now speaking of the tracks, that is what the heart of this video is really about, which is discussing which of her songs would resonate the most and sound the best within this musical and cultural landscape. Most artists that appear on Tiny Desk perform 4 to 5 songs, but with many of Lana's tracks coming in a little longer than the average pop track, I'll be focusing in on just 4. To kick off her performance, I'm going with the beautiful piano introduction that blossoms into a fully arranged ballad known as Mariner's Apartment Complex.
You took my sadness out of context at the Mariner's Apartment Complex.
This track feels like the perfect way to begin a Tiny Desk set, with something that starts somewhat quiet but builds into a way for the entire band to get involved, as Lana still remains the focal point throughout as she touches on some distressing nostalgia within what sounds like a troubled relationship. The way this track comes and goes touches on something very personal and certainly would set the tone for a memorable set list.
You lose your way, just take my hand. You're lost.
Our second song is in place to spice the room up a bit, a song with a folky, gentle introduction turned hip-hop track, A&W. This one comes in at 7 minutes, but is essentially a tale of 2 totally different songs across separate soundscapes. She seems to be an open book about her past promiscuity, but not necessarily denouncing it, just embracing how she is perceived, even if it's not how she sees herself.
Come into my bedroom, ended up with on the hotel floor.
While the gentle part of the song would be enough to get anyone hooked, this would be a perfect setup for the Tiny Desk room to bust loose a bit once the beat drops. The simple thump-clap rhythm of the latter part of the song would allow the crowd to sway a bit before we get back to something a bit more subtle. Tulsa Jesus Freak is my next track for our Lana Del Rey Tiny Desk set list. No frills with this one, just simply a beloved song within her catalog that would play well within this setting. A relaxed drum beat still accompanies parts of this one, so we're not completely going the way of a piano ballad, but there's a raw emotion within the verses of Tulsa Jesus Freak that sounds like a cry for help for her partner to find himself again and come back to her.
Stay real close to Jesus.
As we touched on in Mariner's apartment complex, this seems to address something that happened within her personal life. In this day and age, there are not many lyricists that possess Lana's ability to channel her heartache like this and find the melodies to prop them up like she does.
Could I come back to the ranch, baby? I had to get
As I envisioned how this Tiny Desk concert would play out, I feel like leading into this last song would be the perfect time for her to introduce her band. And as a prelude to the finale, introduce the backup singers that would kick off the fourth and final track, The Grants. To those of you familiar with this song, you're also familiar with the goosebumps you felt as Lana Del Rey emotes the straightforward theme within the song of taking her loved one's memories with her when she passes. But while I listen to this one, I never get the sense of it being too morbid in any way, as the arrangement and the delivery is so delicate that it really only makes you reflect on how beautiful it sounds.
take mine of you with me.
The Grants is perhaps one of her most perfectly constructed songs as it marries up the feel of the music with the lyrical content seamlessly. Why this works as a send-off to her Tiny Desk set is kind of self-explanatory, as it would be quite a heartfelt way for her to tell everyone in the room how meaningful this was for her, and I think that sentiment would be reciprocated to her as well. Now, to tie up some loose ends within the final thoughts of this video, you may have noticed that there wasn't anything included that was released prior to 2019. I can totally see how someone may watch this and wonder, where's Summertime Sadness? Where's anything off of her Ultraviolence album? Rest assured, I do love those early tracks and those earlier albums, but as her songwriting and performances have evolved, I feel like her later work would be presented better within this setting compared to her earlier output. To be fair, you could probably pick some of her songs out of a hat to craft the set list, and it would be amazing either way, but these were just my personal picks for this hypothetical set list. Now, I would love for this video to be obsolete someday, and we see this Tiny Desk come to fruition. Who knows, maybe I'll predict a track or two correctly if that happens. But if you enjoyed this video and would like to follow along as we discuss other artists and topics like this, subscribe here to Last Few Spins and leave a like on this video, as this is still a new up-and-coming channel and every bit of support is much appreciated. Thank you all for watching.